Life is
7 a.m. and it's now time for the Morning Watch with Mr. Stokeley Marshall. The Morning Watch is brought to you by the Ministry of Economic and Job Creation, achieving prosperity through partnership, economic growth, and sustainable development.
Jamaica, let us arrive alive. We know everyone has somewhere to be or someone to see. Whether you're going on a trip, headed to a party, running errands, getting gifts, or visiting family and friends. Arrive alive. Slow down. There's no rush. Look out for yourself and others. Don't let your life be a statistic. Too many Jamaicans are dying on our roads. So take time on the road. Arrive alive.
A message from the Office of the Prime Minister.
Listeners to Love 101 FM are advised that the views and opinions expressed in this program are not necessarily those of Love 101 FM.
Hello and welcome to the Morning Watch on Love 101 FM. I'm your host, Stokeley Marshall. A special welcome to our listeners on love101.org. And if you are overseas and on the move, US listeners can access us at 712-832-8001. And if you are in the UK, 0330-332-6541, or join us via the Love 101 FM app that can be downloaded from the Google Play Store or the Apple Store. You can also join us on Love 101 FM Facebook and YouTube Live. In the main watch today, more countries joining BRICS? That's the question. And in the second watch, the future of the United States dollar, the US dollar? That's another question. For our social media question, we ask, what are your thoughts on the future of the US dollar in global trade versus the use of other currencies? Share your responses in our Facebook or YouTube Love 101 FM Jamaica Live, and also WhatsApp comments and voice notes to 876-997-3125 using the hashtag The Morning Watch. We'll share your comments later on in the program, but first, here's I quote.
Good morning, good morning. Today's I quote is a island quote, and it says, "A smooth sea never made a skilled sailor." And this quote is by Frank D. Roosevelt. So again, a smooth sea never made a skilled sailor.
Interestingly, he's a former U.S. President, Franklin Delano Roosevelt. Jupal,
Right.
good morning.
Good morning.
Are you sailing on choppy seas, sir? Are you
Definitely, definitely. Man, the seas that I'm on definitely not smooth. Listen to me.
I tell you,
boy.
to become a skilled sailor, you cannot sail on a smooth sea. Very interesting. I quote. Good morning, boss. How you doing?
Good morning. I'm doing well, and how are you?
I'm well, sir. I'm well. Very well. Happy to be here. Looking forward to a great show.
It's going to be good. It's going to be a good time.
Wonderful, wonderful. The main watch. We'll be back after this break.
Jamaica's central bank digital currency is now here. Jamix, no cash, no problem. Step into a future of ease, convenience, and security. Conduct business with your mobile device, instantly and without fees. This is how life should be with Jamnex. You catch it free. Jamnex are the real free. Use it to buy a store or TV. You can buy your shoes or 3Ps. The central bank digital currency. No cash, no problem. Jamnex, backed by the Bank of Jamaica.
Refreshing your space should be a breeze. And at Active Home Center, we have made it easy by having what you need all in one place. Shop the largest selection of tiles, bathroom fixtures, lighting, doors, and more. Visit us at 84 Constance Spring Road in Kingston, or check out our newly opened location in Freeport, Montego Bay. Come speak with our in-house experts and hit refresh on your space. Active Home Center. More savings, more choices.
Some dreamers picture a place they call home, a house with no mortgage, a home that they own.
Some dream of owning their very own store, be it a cafe or florist, or growing one into more. Where one dreams of making luxury shopping the norm, others dream of sports cars, the kind that perform. But one thing in common these dreamers all need is to build their wealth so they can achieve.
Never settle for less than your dreams with Sagicor Investments. Call 888-SAGICOR to speak with a wealth advisor. Breast cancer is real. Cervical cancer is real. Heart attack and stroke are real. And so are pregnancy complications. As a woman, if you are hit with one of these critical illnesses or complications, your whole life can be turned upside down. Total Woman Insurance Plan gives you real insurance protection for up to 15 major critical illnesses, life insurance, and other benefits, including free cancer screening. Get serious about your coverage. Get real protection with Total Woman Insurance Plan from Sagicor Life.
Well, if you want buy appliances for your home with the quality high and the price low, get it on a Bashco. Get it on a Bashco. Bashco. Be everything what you need. Bashco. Quality service guaranteed on a Bashco. You know a store that gives you more. Yeah, Bashco. Furniture for your house and everything for your kitchen, your cups and more at Bashco. The store that gives you more. Bashco.
You work hard to make Jamaica a first-class destination. Isn't it time you receive the 5-star benefits? Retire smarter with the Tourism Workers Pension Scheme, a portable plan that also provides your family with financial security in case of your untimely death. It's easy, affordable, and accessible online. Retire and relax with the Tourism Workers Pension Scheme. Visit twps.myguardiangroup.com or call 876-927-4105. Guardian Life. Live secure. Live easy.
Welcome back to the Morning Watch. I'm your host, Stokeley Marshall. Well, you know, in 2010, thereabout, the leaders of 5 countries considered to be amongst the foremost emerging economies in the world came together and formed themselves into BRICS. In fact, initially it was 4 countries, it's now 5. These are Brazil, Russia, India, China, and more recently South Africa. And they have indicated, or it is indicated rather, that they offer a new world order, as it were, and an alternative to the Western dominance we have in the world in terms of finance, etc. Now, what is BRICS all about? Well, we have online this morning to have a discussion about this Dr. Wayne West. He is a chair of the Jamaica Coalition for a Healthy Society, and Reverend Basil Hanson, who is the chief executive officer and founder of MTM Television. Good morning, Dr. West. Good morning, Reverend Hanson. How are you both?
We're fine. Good morning, Reverend Hanson. Good morning.
Morning. Good morning, Doc. Good morning. Good morning. Good to be with you, Doc.
Yes.
Now, without wasting a minute here, what is BRICS? I know that I just essentially covered it in the opening, but what is BRICS? When did it start? Who are its members? Is the membership expanding? Dr. West, would you like to weigh in here?
Okay, well, in 2001, a gentleman by the name of Tim O'Reilly, who was the chief economist of Goldman Sachs, he coined the acronym BRIC, that's Brazil, Russia, India, and China, because he understood that they were among the largest emerging market economies. He expected...
No, just to jump in here quickly, Goldman Sachs, isn't that an American company?
Pardon me?
Isn't Goldman Sachs an American institution?
Yes, it is. It's one of these companies that look at the world economy and how countries are doing and so on. A big company.
Very interesting. Okay, go ahead, sir.
Yeah, he recognized that Brazil, Russia, India, and China were large emerging market economies. And so he predicted that they would have influence in the world. But what he didn't realize that they would come together and form an organization, which was called BRIC, as you said, and with the objective of becoming significant players in the world economy. In 2009, the BRIC countries held their first summit, and then in 2010, South Africa asked to join and was invited, changing BRIC into BRICS. So what we have a group of nations who, with different political philosophies and so on, but who represent.
So I noticed they seem to have different political philosophies indeed, yes?
Yes, like I mean, Russia, China still supposed to be communist sort of, in a way anyway, totalitarian. But the places like India is a democracy, world's largest democracy. And Brazil is also a democracy, and so too is South Africa. So they have different sort of political philosophies.
You have elections in Russia, though, and China as well, Dr. West. But anyway, I digress. Go ahead, sir.
It's different.
I digress.
So what we have in terms of some statistics, you have countries that have about 42% of the world's population. Okay.
What percent are you quoting there, sir?
It is estimated that they have about 42%.
42% is significant. Okay, yeah.
Population.
Okay.
And that their growth rate, you see, they have 25% of the global GDP. That is the global production output, and 15% of world trade, and about 40% of currency reserves. Now, that was an estimate out of the Economist in 2015. It is believed that things have changed since then. So what was just to lay the foundation? So these countries, again, they have 42% of the world population, and their populations are growing. 25% of global GDP, 50% of world trade, and 40% of currency reserves. And they want to flex their muscles to make themselves into something that can contend with the US and Europe and so on. Whether they'll achieve it, well, we wait to see.
Interesting. Depending on the source of information that you read, you might get slightly different perspectives on BRICS. For example, there is news coming out, or news that has come out, of www.nasdaq.com, which, whilst it does seem to indicate, and this one is dated April 9th, 2023, written by Milan Stanojevic. And whilst it does indicate that there are certain things that BRICS is doing, it seems to somewhat indicate that BRICS hasn't had the sort of impact that it was hoped by some persons it would have. Nevertheless, we do hear of other countries that wish to join BRICS. Reverend Hanson, what are your views on how BRICS stacks up against other groups such as the famous G7, the well-known G7?
Thank you for having me, Stokeley. It would not be wise for us to ignore BRICS, because if you have 40% or 42% of the population right there, you would ignore them to your demise. I believe the South and the West is at war in a very subtle way. It has not. When you look at what, as you say, as Dr. West says, BRICS has democratic countries versus totalitarian countries, and I don't see how totalitarian and democratic going to work. So that's where the first problem is with the BRICS. But we can't ignore them anyway because there are others joining. But I believe China is going to be the leader of the BRICS. Now, we know what China is doing around the world. China is positioning itself to be the new leader of the world. And I somewhat believe that the US government has demonstrated some weakness to China and the world, and maybe they are capitalizing on that. I don't know if quietly, Joe Biden is working, with China to implement the new order. Because in
Reverend
order for the new
Hanson,
order, yes.
only because of time, I do see where it is now 7:15. Listeners, please stay with us. We'll be right back on the Morning Watch.
Yes.
Men in the inner city, can they be successful? We think yes. Ghetto youths can be better youths. On Wednesday, April 12 at 5:30 p.m., we will dive into the success story of our guest, Emerson Benjamin. Join us for the mailbox right here on Love 101, the family station, celebrating 30 years of music, family, and love.
I feel follow Grace Sardine, follow the better flavor. Grace Sardine with the chef and the beginner. Follow the one with pepper, that are the winner. Shop on supermarkets, everybody sell it. Do all of them nice. Pass the back, make push it.
Grace Sardines, follow the better flavor. Breast cancer is real. Cervical cancer is real. Heart attack and stroke are real. And so are pregnancy complications. As a woman, if you are hit with one of these critical illnesses or complications, your whole life can be turned upside down. Total Woman Insurance Plan gives you real insurance protection for up to 15 major critical illnesses, life insurance, and other benefits, including free cancer screening. Get serious about your coverage. Get real protection with Total Woman Insurance Plan from Sagicor Life.
There's certain moments in life you'll cherish forever. Like buying your first car, stepping into your first home, sending your child to university, starting that business you've always dreamed of. These are your great moments, and helping you achieve them is ours. Call Chris and Charles today. We have a loan for all the great moments in your life. Powering great moments since 1992. When you think loans, think Chris and Charles.
Welcome back to the Morning Watch. I'm your host, Stokeley Marshall. We are in the main watch, and the topic in this main watch is more countries joining BRICS. That's the question. Our guests are Dr. Wayne West and Reverend Basil Hanson. Reverend Basil Hanson, just before the break, you were making a point, sir?
Yes, I was saying that because the US is showing so much weakness at this time, the world is looking at the US and we are not seeing strength and we're not seeing leadership from the US. So I believe right now the West and the South seem to be at war. I think the West is promoting sodomy and transgenderism and all of those ism, while the South is busy trying to lead the world and trying to change the order. I believe that if China, well, we know that China is going to be the leader of BRICS. As I said, my struggle with BRICS is that I don't understand how democratic country going to work with totalitarian countries. But really, if you take a look at some of these countries that are joining BRICS, they tend to have these authoritarian rule, even South Africa. South Africa is coming from apartheid, and you really wonder if there is some residue there still, and Saudi Arabia and Iran and those countries. So I believe there is a new order coming, and I think China want to be the leader of the new order, the world order, and so they want to implement their way of living and their way of life on the rest of the world. While the Americans and Europe are busy promoting, as I said, sodomy and transgenderism and all of those sexual vice and evil. So we are in an interesting time. I think we are in a crisis, and those who know their God shall be strong. And that is where my trust and my faith is. The arm of flesh will fail us totally, and we see it right now happening globally.
The arm of flesh will definitely fail us, indeed. Those who trust in their God. No,
yeah,
a point that I don't hear many persons asking, but I'm not saying that I am fully aware of everything being raised on this issue of BRICS, but how does the apparently more ethnically diverse makeup of BRICS strike any of you, or do you think it's irrelevant? For example, even this year, in the latter part of August of 2023, I think it's between the 22nd to the 24th of August, South Africa will be hosting the next BRICS summit. Having emerged from apartheid, is now being run by persons who have our kind of melanin, not to exclude any particular ethnic group. But BRICS does appear to be more ethnically diverse than some of the other major groups that we have seen on the scene, such as G7. How does that strike you? Dr. West first, then Reverend Hanson, or do you think it's irrelevant? Dr. West? We don't seem to have him now. Reverend Hanson?
Yes. Hello?
Yes.
Oh, Dr. West, you're with us. Yes, go ahead, Dr. West. If you heard the question.
I didn't, unfortunately, I was cut off for a short while, so I didn't hear the question.
Okay, well, do you think that the ethnically diverse nature of BRICS is significant, or is it irrelevant?
I think it depends on how they choose to handle it. I think it can be irrelevant if they prioritize what BRICS is all about, which is about improving the lives of their citizens and making themselves more significant players in the world. I think it should make a difference. But people are complex. So again, we'll have to wait and see.
Yes. Reverend Hanson, is it irrelevant or is it significant?
I guess these men are so strategic that nothing that they do is, in their eyes is relevant. They have strategic plans and they put their system in place. And as I said, it could be, we could look at it that, listen, since the world is fighting against racism and all of that, it could be of not much relevance. But you can't rule out nothing with these guys. You have to keep watching them at every step of the way.
Yes. Do you think that this might just end up being another group of countries? They probably want to, well, they have indicated that they want to, for example, have financing for member nations, etc. Will it just end up being another alternative to what we are already used to in terms of institutions, or will it make a significant difference in the lives of the persons who are citizens in their respective countries of this group? Because the last thing you want to hear is that, yes, you have a new institution, a new group of countries forming themselves into a body, but the lives of the average person on the ground doesn't really change. Dr. West, your thoughts?
Well, first of all, when they first formed, their economies were small and they didn't have a definite leader. Just as the United States is the leader in terms of the West, there was no definite leader. But China has emerged as the leader because China has a big economy. And it is now able, and China has set up this thing called the New Silk Road, or the One Belt or One Road vision, where it links up with a number of countries, with export and trade and so on. And China, because of its large economy, has now been able to found, because of China, BRICS has founded what they call the New Development Bank, which will become a major regional development bank. So they have founded one institution which will be significant, like the World Bank. You have to think of it, the World Bank is part of the present establishment, while the New Development Bank, funded by China's large economy, will be the bank for BRICS and other countries that join BRICS. Maybe Jamaica might end up there too, asking for a little something. So they have formed that institution, and I think that that's a significant first step. So there are two projects. So two things. China is the leader. They now have a leader because China has the economy to run, to lead. Sorry. And two, they have founded this bank which will help them develop things like infrastructure and so. There's also a projection that by 2050, China will be the largest economy in the world. The USA should still be second, but Brazil and India should be third and fourth, I think they're expecting. But no, third will be fourth and fifth, with Brazil, my apologies. I think China will be first, United States second, Japan, Brazil, and India. So you'll see that all these BRICS countries will be in the top 5 in terms of economy. And at the end of the day, the world runs on money. So if things continue as projected, by 2050, we may see a significant shift in terms of what's happening in the world.
Very interesting. We have a report here from, it's called www.republicworld.com. Quite a number of publications here. African nations, the word that they have here in the headline, African nations reiterate their request to join BRICS amid ongoing global political woes. This is dated, it was last updated March 16th, 2023, not too long ago. According to a top politician in Zimbabwe, the group is seen as a new power in international affairs as the debate around UN reforms and the new global order emerges, written by Vidit Baya. That's the name of the author of this article, or this piece here. We have, well, Reverend Hanson, your thoughts on this one, because it appears as if a number of countries are showing interest.
Yeah, but something, Stokeley, the scripture is always relevant and right. Scripture says we are hard pressed on every side, right? And when I look at the West and I look at the South, we are hard pressed on both sides. On the side of the West, they are trying to bring in the new order by promoting homosexuality, transgenderism, and pedophilia, and all of those sexual things that are just immoral. While on the side of the South, they are trying to use a totalitarian rule. Recently, when we hear even our own government talking about cashless, totalitarian controlling of the people, I believe we are both pressed on both sides. I think that the floodgates of hell has been opened, and those who know their God is going to be strong in this time, and those who don't are going to be weak. I believe right now the order is coming on both sides. Whichever side you go, there are those countries that are hurt by IMF, and they want to get away from IMF and probably to some extent hurt IMF. While, the alternative is, as you said, the new development bank, which is also totalitarian. We would look like China in the long run, because the leader will always try to implement their values and their system. So we are in a spot of bother. I believe the world is in crisis, and boy, we know in a place where we have to just look up, because our redemption draweth near. That's my take on the whole thing right now. So
look up, because our redemption draweth nigh.
Draweth near. Yes.
Near.
If you look to the left, to the right, you are going to be discouraged.
I'll just read a list of countries which are showing an interest in joining BRICS. Algiers, Argentina, Bahrain are reported to be showing an interest. Algiers, Argentina, Bahrain, Bangladesh, Indonesia, Iran, Egypt, Mexico, Nigeria, Pakistan, Sudan, Syria, Turkey, the United Arab Emirates, Venezuela, closer to home, and Zimbabwe. I've even heard that Mexico might be showing some interest.
And probably Nigeria also.
Yes, I listed them among the group of countries which is reported to be showing an interest. Any final thoughts, gentlemen, starting with you, Dr. West, and then Reverend Hanson. Dr. West?
Well, you should never put all your eggs in one basket. And look, Jamaica has benefited from its association with China, and other countries have as well. We know what the Chinese are about. They're not people, Democrats and so. But the United States is not all that kosher either. As Reverend Hanson was saying, they're trying to bring in all sorts of ungodly sorts of things. So what we as a country have to do is, now we have an option. We could choose between the two and keep them on their toes, like it should keep politicians on their toes.
Understood. Reverend Hanson?
It seems as if we especially we in the Caribbean and especially Jamaica, we have to look up at this time, because if we look to the left, to the right, we are in trouble.
Yes.
So we have to look up. And I think we need to make God
Redemption
now the
draweth
foundation
near.
of our country.
Redemption draweth near. Dr. West, Reverend Hanson, thank you for your time and for your thoughts in this first watch. You will be with us in the second watch, I gather. Listeners, please stay with us. We'll be right back at the morning watch.
JN Bank Small Business Loans. Celebrate business and let's turn your ambitions into reality. The time by JN Bank Small Business Loans is
7:30.
I am a man, I am a man, I am a man, yes.
Men in the inner city, can they be successful? We think yes. Ghetto youths can be better youths. On Wednesday, April 12 at 5:30 p.m., we will dive into the success story of our guest, Emerson Benjamin. Join us for the mailbox right here on Love 101, the family station, celebrating 30 years of music, family, and love.
From generation to generation, Jamaicans have depended on JN Bank to make the pride and joy of providing a safe place for their families possible. Now, with no processing fees and no down payment mortgage options, you can open the door to your own sweet home, a legacy to hand to your next generation. Visit jnbank.com to get pre-approved today. JN Bank will help you find a way.
Crystal Clear and Sharp Vision Ultra Clear is a total natural herbs formulated to activate the adult replacement stem cells in your body, sending them to the eyes to repair the damaged cells. Take 1 teaspoon daily in hot water and watch the improvement in your vision. To get yours, call Hafco Herbs 876-540-8871. That's 540-8871 or WhatsApp 533-0462.
Welcome back to the Morning Watch. I'm your host, Stokeley Marshall. Let's take a look now at the newspapers to see what the Jamaicans and others are saying and doing. And we look at the Gleaner. A very interesting headline here, and one that many people should take note of. BPO jobs on the line. GSAJ, and that acronym means Global Services Association of Jamaica, urges firms to seek contracts beyond simple customer service, as AI, which stands for Artificial Intelligence, could sink companies. Very, very interesting headline in the Gleaner. Artificial intelligence. We have here in the Observer, wire-to-wire Carifta dominance for Jamaica. This story by Paul A. Reed of the Observer. And it reads here, among other things, Malik Smith Band of Jamaica powers away from compatriot Javon Dunkley and Adam Musgrove of Barbados to win the under-20 boys 200-meter final during the Carifta Games in the Bahamas on Monday. More news on the Carifta to come, obviously. And we now turn to Loop Jamaica News, a very concerning story here. And it reads, policeman dies days after crash in St. Mary. He had apparently been injured in a crash in St. Mary on Saturday. And unfortunately, he has died. Police Constable Adrian Pendley, who was driving a motorcycle in the Galena section of the parish of St. Mary. Deep condolences to his family. Very unfortunate indeed. Sorry to hear about that. Well, coming up next, obviously, we will be looking at feedback to our Facebook, YouTube, and WhatsApp question, which is, what are your thoughts on the future of the US dollar in global trade versus the use of other currencies, versus the use of other currencies? If you haven't done so yet, leave your responses on our Facebook or YouTube. Love 101 FM Jamaica Live. and also WhatsApp comments and voice notes to 876-997-3125 using the hashtag The Morning Watch. We'll be right back.
Hey, small people, listen up. Join us weekdays, Monday to Friday, 4 p.m. to 4:30 p.m. for the Small People Show with Auntie Colleen. Yes, every day we have something educational and fun for you to enjoy. Plus, on a fifth Friday, you get a chance to hail up your friends and community, and you could win a prize too. That's the Small People Show, where we aim to build characters and empower our small people for the future. Remember to tell a friend and stay for the fun. It's the Small People Show with Auntie Colleen on the family station, Love 101.
Here is your opportunity to connect with someone who will listen, pray, and give guidance. It's the Ministry of Counseling and Prayer of the Edgewater Baptist Church. Please call 876-220-6474 or 876-332-7956. Weekdays between 8 a.m. and 9 p.m. Saturdays and Sundays between 8 a.m. and 8 p.m. Please talk to someone if you're finding it particularly challenging to cope during this period of crisis. Someone is waiting for your call. Please reach out today, 876-220-6474 or 876-332-7956. It's the Telephone Counseling and Prayer Ministry of the Edgewater Baptist Church. A reminder that somebody cares. Endorsed by Love 101.
When I come to the end of myself, Father, carry me.
Welcome back to the Morning Watch. I'm your host, Stokeley Marshall. Let's join Jukal now for how our Facebook and WhatsApp friends answer today's question. What are your thoughts on the future of the US dollar in global trade versus the use of other currencies? Jukal, I gather that we have a response. What's the response?
Yes, we do have a response from Karen Case. Karen Case is saying digital currencies will take over and our money won't be under our control anymore.
Wow. Isn't that interesting? Well,
Definitely interesting. Definitely.
Interesting segue as we move into the second watch. Thank you for the comment. We welcome all comments from all our listeners. Well, the US dollars, that is, the US dollars coming slide will be welcomed by the world. That's what one quotation from a recent headline in Bloomberg.com says. Well, it depends on which side of the coin you're on. Some may welcome it and some might not. Now, this is with reference, obviously, to the US dollar, but what some see as highly speculative, others see as inevitable. Again, it depends on how you look at it. What is the real story, and how will you or should we react to it if it does happen? Now, for this discussion in this segment, we did try to have a financial advisor, someone from the financial services sector, with us for this particular segment, but up to airtime, we were not able to confirm anyone. However, we will nevertheless look at the matter, not only from we will look at the matter in a holistic way, because issues to do with currency and the dollar, etc., affects each person on a day-to-day basis at the granular level. We have online for this segment Reverend Basil Hanson, CEO, founder, MTM Television. We also have Dr. Wayne West, chair of the Jamaica Coalition for a Healthy Society. Both of them were guests with us in the first watch, and we are happy to have them as guests in the second watch. Good morning again, gentlemen. How are you both? Again, sirs.
We're fine.
Morning. Thanks again, Stokeley.
Not a problem, sirs. Great having you both. Now, how will changes likely changes, expected changes, possible changes in relation to the US dollar and it being the world's reserve currency likely affect us all since we have all grown up seeing the US dollar in the top spot. There's all this talk about what might happen to the US dollar. Is it going to end up declining? Is the yuan going to take over? Will it never take over? China's dominance in the world or growing dominance vis-a-vis the US? Dr. West, what are your thoughts?
All right. Well, just to lay the foundation, the US dollar has been the currency that the world bought oil in. It's the petrodollar. So if you wanted to get oil, you had to have US dollars to get oil. And of course, the oil is what the energy that runs economies and so on. So the US dollar was very significant. However, there have been recent changes. Saudi Arabia, for example, has determined that it will sell oil in other currencies. So the US dollar has lost its and is losing its position as the unique currency for buying oil, for obtaining oil. What that's going to do, you see, for example, the Americans have given billions of dollars to Ukraine for the war effort. So I don't know if the Americans actually had that money or if they just printed it, produced it. You see, in the past, you couldn't print a dollar unless you had a certain amount of gold to back the dollar. So the dollar was actually backed by gold. But in the Nixon administration, they removed that. So you can produce a dollar with nothing. But
that was in the 1970s.
That's the 1970s. But nowadays, you can print $1 billion with nothing but the U.S. economy, quote unquote, supporting it. So when you pump all this U.S. dollars into the world market, it's going to come back as inflation. I mean, I'm no economist, but it's going to come back as inflation.
Some will argue, Dr. West, that there's a lot of gold at Fort Knox. I'm not sure how much is there, but some will argue that that's the position.
Look, it's one thing to have gold. It's another thing to have your dollar backed by a certain amount of gold. In other words, you don't print any money unless you have more gold. So the support, and the thing about it is that Russia and China and these countries are actually doing that. They're actually getting gold to support their currency so that you don't have a currency that is free floating out there that you can just print. So if the Americans continue to increase their debt and continue to print US dollars to do all sorts of things, but there is nothing backing it, then I think that it's going to come back as inflation, meaning the valuation of the dollar. And that's what I think I see happening.
Okay.
I'm no economist, but that is what I see happening, unless the US changes some of the way it operates.
Well, the Bible does say that the borrower is the servant of the lender. The Bible says. Reverend Hanson, your thoughts?
I tend to agree with Dr. West. As you said, we are not financial people, but we are very much aware of money and the power of money and what it does. The Bible said the love of it is the root of all evil. So those who love it, they will go to no extent to do evil. So I believe at some point, if the US dollar collapses, which I think the world is moving away from the US. I don't know if it is by their doing or people are just waking up and are saying, listen, we don't want no one rule guy over us. I mean, as I said, the IMF has damaged a lot of countries. A lot of countries are hurt by the IMF. And so people, are looking for alternatives. And I believe right now, if the US dollar collapses, then the US economy is probably going to look like third world at some point because they'll have all of that cash, know what to do with it. It is going to cause inflation and a lot of things just going to be just going wrong, as we are seeing even now. Maybe what we are seeing in America is really the start of the erosion of the US dollar. Once you begin to push the new Green Deal, that also is part of the problem, in my opinion.
Well, you both say that you're not financial persons, and that is true, but let's look at what Bloomberg.com has said. The writer here, and this is Marcus Ashworth, 28th March 2023, and Bloomberg is a well-known publication. The dollar has lost some of its luster over the winter, the past winter that would be. The twin supports of its status as a preferred haven during the pandemic and being backed by the world's strongest economy are fading. And now another prop for the greenback is wobbling amid doubts about how much higher the Federal Reserve will raise US interest rates as it has second thoughts on the likelihood of a recession. We'll read the rest, some more of this on the other side of the break. Listeners, please stay with us. We'll be right back at the Morning Watch.
Great sardine for the chef and the beginner. Follow the one with pepper, that are the winner. Shop on supermarkets, everybody
Great
selling.
sardines, follow the better flavor.
The time is
7:45.
What are your financial goals? Consider who you are and where you want to be. Do you want to open your own business? Do you want to own a home? Invest in properties? Go back to school? Send your children to school? Then you have to save. But first, you have to have a budget. This financial literacy tip was brought to you by Bank of Jamaica, building an inclusive economy.
Entrepreneurs, now you've got more support in your corner. Sagicor Bank Business Resource Center, where entrepreneurs benefit from free training in business management, financial support and guidance from pros, as well as research capabilities. Sagicor Bank, in partnership with the Jamaica Business Development Corporation, brings you this first center of its kind for small entrepreneurs to develop and grow. Let's help you take your business to the next level of success. Contact Sagicor Bank Business Resource Center today. WhatsApp 876-997-3745.
Welcome back to the Morning Watch. I'm your host, Stokeley Marshall. We are in the second watch, and the topic in this second watch, the future of the US dollar. And our guests are Dr. Wayne West and Reverend Basil Hanson. As I indicated earlier, we did try to have someone on from the financial services sector, but up to airtime, we didn't have anyone on. Nevertheless, we have a granular discussion, a look at the issue, because at the end of the day, any shifting in the value of the US dollar can affect us all on a domestic level in terms of how we live our lives financially. So we were taking a look, gentlemen, and of course, listeners, at an article from Bloomberg.com. Very interesting one indeed. And I just revert to it here, www.bloomberg.com. And the name of the writer of this article is Marcus Ashworth. Now, it's dated 28th March 2023 at 11 p.m. So it's not a dated article, it's quite recent. Now, it goes on to read, as I was reading before, and I'm continuing, the dollar looks likely to suffer an extended bout of weakness. Interestingly, however, the article goes on to read, among other things, King Dollar sits serenely on its throne. So they're not dethroning the dollar, but they are indicating signs of weakness. Dr. West, how does this strike you? Dr. West, are you with us?
Yes, I'm with you. Can you hear me?
Oh,
Hello?
we're hearing you now, loud and clear. Go ahead.
Okay, good. The thing about economics is there are so many factors. That's why it's good to leave things to the market, because that's why it's not good to stand centrally, because so many factors come into play. But there is no question, if the United States cannot continue the way it is, which is printing money. And print money when you have nothing to back it, you just give out money here, there, and everywhere. If you do that, it's going to end up in inflation. Yeah. And because it is losing its central role as the world's currency for petrol and for energy, it's going to be challenged, as Bloomberg said. But what happens, because if the US is a powerful economy, has a lot of technology, etc., what's going to happen will depend on what the American government does, how they handle the situation. I want to bring in another component here, which I'm sure Reverend Hanson, from the first proposition of the Reverend, will look at as well. The United States, is exporting some LGBT ideology and abortion and so on. All these things against the will of God. And at the end of the day, just as Babylon was brought down in one night, when that hand was wrote on the wall, many shekels passed, and you've been weighed in the balance and found God remains God. And with all that we are discussing in the natural realm here, God has the final say. And if the U.S. continues on that path, it may well end up like Babylon. In one night, it might disappear. Its power might be taken away.
Very interesting, Dr. West. So, in other words, you are suggesting, or I'm not saying you're suggesting, but based on what you're saying, if the United States continues along the path of, let's be frank, a lot of decadence is coming out of the US at this time. So that decadence is what could end up resulting in God essentially turning his face from the country. That's what you're saying?
Absolutely.
I see.
Absolutely.
Reverend Hanson, your thoughts on that? Reverend Hanson?
Yes, sorry about that. Stokeley, I share that view with I think right now you can't be going against God and expect to win. And I believe America was founded upon God, and now they are moving away from God. I was listening to a few people over the Easter weekend, and it's sad to say that a number of persons in America, especially the younger people, don't know what Easter means. So America is moving away from the foundation on which they were built. Their US dollar says, "In God we trust." No, they stopped trusting in God. So, this is really grounds for God to move himself away from them. And you and I know when God moves himself away from a country, a people, they can't stand. They have nothing to stand on. So I agree with you, Dr. West, that maybe America right now is huh? Go ahead.
Hearing you loud and clear, Reverend Hanson. Hearing you loud
so
and clear.
I agree, but earlier on, Stokeley, you made a comment. I think is somebody else made a comment that you cannot sail on smooth sea and expect to be skillful. I believe what is happening in the world at this time, and think it is saying to us as Christians, we need to be anchored down to the rock. We need to be solid. We need to really look up, and that is what it is saying to me. Because right now, if you look around us, it look hopeless. It look like there's no hope. I mean, everybody trying to control God's people, and I always say this. Years ago, I said it, and I still say it today. You cannot control what you did not make. Man can only control what they make. You did not make man, so you cannot control another man. We can try, and that is what the world is about right now, is power. Who can be the dominant force? Who can control people? Who can tell you when to move, when not to move, what to do, what not to do? Those are the things that we are battling with at this time, and that is why God had to bring down Babylon, and it might very well be USA in our time. Maybe USA is Babylon in my generation, and God is saying enough is enough. So let's look and see what's going to happen. We are in interesting times, and we just have to remember that God is coming back. And a lot of what we are seeing happening is preparing for the return of the Lord. So these things will happen. But I can rest assured that with him in the vessel, we can smile at every storm, Stokeley. That is what I'm promoting this morning. Not the fear of man, not the fear of what the world is saying, but what God has said to us. Be still.
Very interesting.
That I am God.
To look at another article here to go back to topic here in particular, the New York Times writer here, Alexandra Stevenson, published January 12th, 2021, updated on January 15th, 2021. Interestingly, that's over 2 years ago now. The headline reads, China's economy surges, and so does its currency. Of course, the currency of China is a Chinese yuan. So do you ever foresee a situation where there is, well, maybe it's happening already in terms of oil on the world stage, will the Chinese yuan be gaining more strength and dominance how might that look? Because we are accustomed to the US dollar having that position. Dr. West?
I think it's happening already. For example, well, certainly Russia and China, who are part of the BRICS, I think that Russia has been selling oil to China in yuan. And Saudi Arabia, as I said, is willing to accept payments for its oil in yuan. So it's happening. And recently I heard a report where the yuan certainly in trade between Russia and China, the yuan, there was more yuan trade than US dollar trade. So it is going to happen. I want to just bring another component of this monetary.
Just to add to what you said, Dr. West, yes, I'm seeing here petrodollar at risk as Total Energies sells LNG to China in yuan. And this is from Radio France International. Go ahead, Dr. West.
Yes, so we see that the yuan is increasing in terms of the amount of trade that is done in yuan. But there's another component to this financial or the monetary consideration. Recently, 2 large banks in the US collapsed. And some persons think that those banks traded in what is called cryptocurrency. And cryptocurrency is not controlled by the central bank. It's a decentralized thing. And so you can have your money and the government cannot impact it. And that's the important thing about cryptocurrency. You can trade in a way that keeps the government out of your business. Freedom. It has been said that bank that was collapsed, I can't remember the exact name, but it is one of the largest traders in cryptocurrency. And some persons are of the view that collapse may have been deliberate in order to bring central bank currencies into being so that there is no currency outside of the central government. I say all that to say that Reverend Hanson brought up the concept of freedom. And I think that one of the things that's going to happen, we're moving to sort of digital currencies that give the authority the ability to control your spending and to shut off your spending if they don't like it, and so on and so forth. So we are, and the United States, which is supposed to be, and this is where you're talking about the future of the US and the US dollar. The US used to be the country we look to for freedom of speech, for upholding human rights. But more and more, the US is becoming sort of or totalitarian. I wouldn't say it is totalitarian, but moving that way, in that it's restricting speech and it's creating a currency that, if you do not go along with the official narrative, your currency may be cut off. Those are things that the digital currency facilitates. We don't know if all states would be doing that sort of thing, but we are seeing a movement to it. And what that movement is towards controlling the population. And, so when you put the US dollar, the cryptocurrency, the collapse of that bank, and so on together, may well be looking at a scenario of government control through digital currency.
Very interesting, Dr. West. Reverend Basil Hanson, as we wind down, any final thoughts, sir? Reverend Hanson? I don't think we are hearing Reverend Hanson at this time.
Yes, I'm here, Stokeley. I'm saying you cannot implement one system without collapsing the other. And so when we look at what is happening, even though we heard it in Jamaica, that, recently one of the government ministers said that the church should put up their collection plate and go cashless. So, it's all a part of the plan.
Is that so? Okay.
Yes.
Interesting.
We should put up, Minister Chuck, Delroy Chuck said that we should put up the collection plate and we should go cashless. So cash is king, and we must remember, once we lose our cash, we lose our freedom. So we have to remember, we don't have a problem with you wanting to go digital, leave the option. And that is what the Jamaican people need to know. The day you lose your cash, we are under a new form of slavery. Good morning, Stokeley. Have a good one. Bless you.
Thank you, Reverend Hanson. In fact, I apologize to you, Reverend Hanson. I said earlier that I said let's go back to topic. No, Reverend Hanson, everything that you said was on topic and on point. Reverend Hanson, thank you so much, and Dr. West, thank you so much for your time and for your thoughts. But alas, we're totally out of time. We have to wrap. Thank you, listeners, for being with us. Join us again tomorrow for other topical and controversial issues for discussion. Of course, download our Love 101 app and stay connected to us, the family station, the #1 gospel station in Jamaica, Love 101 FM. This has been the Morning Watch. Thanks to our producer Kathy Gale and to our guests. I am Stokeley Marshall, handing it back to Love in the Morning with the Jacob.
The Morning Watch was brought to you by the Ministry of Economic and Job Creation, achieving prosperity through partnership, economic growth, and sustainable development.
I am from St. James.